All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to try and pull back the curtain on the beautiful, chaotic, and often magical process of making video games. We'll be using this really powerful model called the Ouroboros framework. Like that ancient symbol of the snake eating its own tail? It's the perfect metaphor because it shows just how cyclical and self-referential creating these incredible worlds really is. So, have you ever stopped to wonder what the real difference is between a game that's just good and one that is absolutely unforgettable? It's not just about flashy graphics or a cool story. No, it's something way deeper, something that's woven into the very DNA of the game itself. The secret, really, is understanding how these digital universes get built, piece by tiny piece. And to do that, we're going to climb what's called a fractal pyramid of complexity. We're starting at the very bottom with the absolute first principles. Okay, our climb begins right here, at the base of the pyramid. This is the foundational blueprint. These are the unbreakable axioms that define what a game's reality even is. So at level 0, you have the whole. Think of the game as its own little self-contained universe. The second you hit play, you're inside what we call the magic circle. It's got its own laws of physics, its own economy, but here's the kicker. It's not complete without you. The player is the final piece that closes the circuit. And when a team fails to define this whole right from the start, well, you get the infamous development of a game like Anthem. The project just spirals into chaos because none of the parts have a cohesive universe to actually belong to. But here's where it gets really interesting. This whole isn't some single solid thing. Right away, it's split by this fundamental tension, this duality between what's fixed and unchangeable and what's always in flux. And this table just lays it all out perfectly. On one side, you have the static nature. That's the rigid, predictable source code, the art assets, the design doc. And on the other, you have the dynamic nature, the chaotic, totally unpredictable player, and all the emergent AI behaviors. The magic, the fun, the juice, it's born right there, in the explosive tension where that predictable code slams into your unpredictable actions. Okay, so we've got that fundamental tension locked in place. Now we can climb to the next level. This is where we start to build the actual architecture of play. The pillars that hold it up, the parts that make it work, and the loops that keep you hooked. Every truly great game is held up by 4 of these conceptual pillars. You can think of them as these fundamental forces that the development team has to keep in this constant, delicate balance to keep the whole project from falling apart. First up, you've got unity. This is the project's North Star, its creative vision. Take The Last of Us. Every single gameplay mechanic, every line of dialogue, it all serves to reinforce one single theme, the bond between Joel and Ellie. Without unity, you just get a messy pile of cool features that don't add up to a meaningful whole. Next, there's balance. This is the fine art of tuning. It's the secret sauce that makes a game like Dark Souls feel tough but fair, right? But it's not just about gameplay difficulty. It's also about the real-world production challenges of balancing scope, budget, and time so you can actually ship the game. Then there's symmetry. This is the hidden order, the consistent patterns that make a game world feel coherent and reliable. Gravity always works the same way. The A button always makes you jump. You know what a bug is fundamentally? It's just a break in symmetry, a moment where the game accidentally contradicts its own rules. And finally, my favorite, paradox. Oh, this is where the real magic happens. It's when all those symmetrical, predictable rules collide in totally unexpected ways to create emergent fun. The perfect example is Breath of the Wild's chemistry engine, where you can use metal, electricity, and water to solve puzzles in ways the developers never, ever planned for. Climbing higher, now we get to break the game down into its individual parts. And these are more than just characters and items. They can be something as simple as an intrinsic data component, like your health value. Or they can be a complex systemic manager, like the genius AI director in Left 4 Dead, that's constantly tweaking the game's pacing. You've got adaptive agents, like a sim reacting to being hungry, or even emergent physics objects, like a simple wooden crate in Half-Life 2 that can be your cover, a weapon, or a step stool. And here's the crucial point. All of these parts operate inside these nested fractal loops of time. It starts with the microloop, that satisfying second-to-second feedback of pulling a trigger. That's nested inside the minute-to-minute core loop of completing an objective, which is inside the hours-long meta loop of leveling up your character. And for modern games, that's even inside the days-long social loops of live events and community engagement. All right, we're ascending further now, and this is where things get messy. We're entering the production crucible, the place where all these perfect theories get tested by the harsh reality of hard deadlines and human challenges.
And look who's back, our old friends Static and Dynamic Nature, showing up again, this time in production methods. You've got Waterfall, which is static and predictable, like a factory assembly line, perfect for creating things like art and audio. And then you have Agile, which is dynamic and iterative, absolutely essential for finding the fun in gameplay design, but it always risks spiraling into chaos. The truth is, most big studios use a hybrid of both.
This friction, this constant push and pull, leads us to one of the biggest, thorniest paradoxes in all of game design. That inherent conflict between what the story is telling you and what the gameplay is asking you to do. This conflict actually has a name: ludonarrative dissonance. You know the classic example, right? The hero is portrayed as this charming, relatable person in all the cutscenes, but then in the gameplay, they proceed to slaughter hundreds of enemies without a single shred of remorse. When that gap is too big, it can completely shatter your immersion.
So how do you fix it? Well, the most elegant solution, the absolute holy grail, is called synthesis. This is where instead of the story fighting the gameplay, the story is actually generated by it. The prime example has to be Shadow of Mordor's Nemesis system, where enemies remember you, they get promoted, they develop grudges, creating these incredible personal stories that are born directly from your actions. The gameplay is the story.
We've almost made it. We're at the very peak of the pyramid now, and up here, we move beyond just mechanics and production pipelines. This is where we go searching for that intangible, essential quality, the soul of the game.
At this highest level, a truly great game is guided by a singular truth, a simple, powerful mantra that informs every single design choice. And one of the most famous, most perfect examples of this comes from the legend himself, Sid Meier. If a feature doesn't give the player an interesting decision to make, it just doesn't belong in the game. Simple as that.
And this is where we see the Ouroboros in action, the snake finally eating its own tail. The end of one game's creative cycle becomes the beginning of a whole new one. A simple player-made mod for Warcraft 3 called Defense of the Ancients. It contained such a powerful core idea, such a potent singular truth that it rippled outward and spawned an entire billion-dollar genre, the MOBA. And that leaves us with one final, kind of exciting thought. This whole framework we've just climbed, it's constantly in motion. The next great gaming revolution, the next genre-defining idea, it's probably not coming from some massive studio. It might be starting right now, in a simple mod or a weird, paradoxical new mechanic, just waiting for its chance to become the whole of tomorrow's games.